So you're looking to buy a Rolex Oyster Perpetual from the AD and you want to know which dial has the most value in the market. Today we're going to rank each dial from worst to best in terms of market value. The Oyster Perpetual is the entry-level model from Rolex. The design is simple and classic, however it's a time-only model. It's available in a range of sizes from 28 to 41mm, but it's only available on the Oyster bracelet. The only part that you can configure is the dial, but fortunately there are plenty of options for you to choose from. Josh, thanks for joining me. How are you?
Very good, how are you?
I'm very good, mate. So I just have to take my hat off to Rolex with what they've done with the Oyster Perpetual model, because not so long ago, nobody was really talking about this model. And then in 2020, they released those vibrant coloured dials and it just totally changed the game. So what was the initial reaction to those coloured dials?
So the initial reaction to the Oyster Perpetual range with the bright colours was very mixed at the start. So they were hot, they weren't massively trading above retail price, but they did have a premium when they first came out. People were a little bit sceptical with the colours. They've never seen it before in a Rolex of recent times. It's maybe paying a bit of homage to the Stellar dials on the day dates. People were a little bit sceptical at first.
Yeah, but they seemed to kind of pick up quite quickly. I think there was a few celebrities that were wearing them, maybe Mark Wahlberg, LeBron James, that kind of thing.
I think Rolex do a very good job on who they put the watches on.
Yeah, so it's a genius move from Rolex. They managed to take one of their least interesting models and really put it right under the spotlight. Anyway, we're going to find out where they sit in the current market. So we'll kick off with the D tier.
Okay, so the D tier, we've got 4 pieces.
Alright, so the D tier is watches that have a premium of between £0 and £1,500 over the RRP, and we can see that these are all 31mm models. So who tends to buy the 31mm OP?
Okay, so predominantly it will be ladies, as it is a 31mm watch, but a lot of customers do actually opt for the Datejust 31mm, which is a little bit more jewellery-esque on the wrist. People prefer, well, ladies prefer steel and gold, the Jubilee bracelet.
Yeah, I mean, I think the colours of dials that we see here in the D tier are maybe a little bit more masculine.
These do carry the least premium, as we just do sell the least of them.
Yeah, I mean, all of the Oyster Perpetuals in the range all trade at a premium, right?
Yeah.
They're actually, it's funnily enough, it's the entry-level Rolex, but it's actually one of the hardest ones to get, it seems to be. Anyway, let's move into the C tier. So these are watches that trade between £1,500 and £3,000 over the RRP. Okay, so what do we see? I can see we've got 36mm and 41mm in this tier, but again, it seems to be in the more quote-unquote standard colour dials, which are the silver, the blue, the black. Okay, but I also notice we'll have the green. And this was one of the colour dials that came out in 2020. So why do we see the green in this tier as well?
First of all, it's still in production, so it is still being released by Rolex. 2, it's never really took off as much as something like maybe the Tiffany, the red and the yellow. The other dials, it's always carried a little bit less of a premium.
I think it's the most subtle colour. You know, all of those colours were quite out there, but the green is maybe a bit more everyday wearable because it just is a little bit more under the radar. So I do notice though that the 41mm green, 7,450 on market price, it's only £200 more than a silver, black or blue. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just to do with the supply of the watch. I think there's a lot more of them being produced as opposed to obviously the hotter colours. Yeah. And that's all it comes down to. I'm personally quite surprised that this watch is in this kind of category. I think out of them all, it's probably my favourite. Okay,
and I also notice quite an unusual difference here. The 36mm seems to be a little bit more than the 41mm when we looked at market prices. So why do you think that might be?
A lot of gentlemen go for the 41mm watch, which means there's less demand for maybe the 36mm, making it a little bit harder to find, and obviously the price will be a little bit higher because it's harder to find.
Got you. So out of the C tier, what is the watch that you sell the most of in this tier?
Okay, so looking at this tier, I can tell you I sell the most of the 41mm green and also the black dial 41mm as well.
Right, okay. I think maybe for the ultimate purist, right, who wants a no fuss, no nonsense Rolex, The black dial, brushed oyster bracelet, just clean bezel.
It's a very clean watch. Yeah.
You know, you could wear that with a suit. You could wear it with a t-shirt. It just looks slick in every occasion, doesn't it? You know.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much why it's very minimalistic. It's very clean looking. Obviously, there's no date on the watch. It's just very clean and simple.
Because that's a controversial topic, isn't it? The Cyclops. Some people love it. Some people hate it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the same Submariner non-date or date. Which do people prefer?
Right. Let's move on to the B tier.
Okay. So
the B tier being watches that sell for between 3,000 and 4,500 above the RRP. Right, immediately we're seeing that this is all 31mm watches.
Exactly, yeah.
So this is back to the ladies' size, right then. And we've got this little purple mark on these ones. That just means that those are discontinued dials.
You can see we've got the candy pink, we've got the yellow, and we've got the coral red. All three of these colours are now discontinued.
So you can't buy them anymore.
You can't buy them anymore, they're out of production.
Only in the market, right
exactly,
then.
Yeah.
So these 31mm watches, these are all lady sizes, but I can see that they're the more vibrant colours, right? They're probably the more feminine dial colours when you compare them to the D tier. So I can see why, you know, they're going to be more popular and command a little bit more money. So I can see as well though, the Sunray Pink 6950, that's quite a bit more than the ones that we could see in the D tier. Why do you think that is?
The colours in the D tier are a little bit masculine, and I think for a lady,
pink just works.
Exactly,
doesn't it?
Yeah. So it's the most feminine colour dial you can physically get.
We don't see so many of those dials, I don't think. And likewise with the Tiffany 31.
The Tiffany's the Tiffany.
Or the turquoise, I should say. I know some people don't like us calling it the Tiffany dial. It is officially the turquoise dial.
Yeah, exactly.
Right then, let's move into the A tier.
Okay, so not too many in this tier.
So the A tier is watches that trade between 4,500 and 6,000 above the RRP. Right then, what have we got in this tier?
So we've got the discontinued 36mm coral red, and we've got the 36mm in a candy pink.
Okay, so who is the buyer for the candy pink 36?
So the buyer for the candy pink 6 is predominantly a lady. Based on the dial, but we have actually sold it to a few gents because 36mm does tend, in the OP range, does tend to be a unisex model.
So it's for the ladies who like a little bit of a bigger size watch, but also 36 big enough for a gent as well. Why is the 36 candy pink then so much more than say a 36 in green or a 36 in blue?
Yeah, I think again that's down to the demand in the watch and obviously the supply of the watch. It's the most popular 36mm model that we sell.
Yeah.
And it's the one model that gets asked for us to source, or obviously as soon as one's in stock, it sells the quickest.
I think the 36 candy pink would look well on a younger person's wrist. I think it's quite a trendy watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Right then, let's move on to the S tier. This is watches that trade for 6,000 or more above the RRP, which, to be fair, is crazy considering the most expensive of these watches at RRP is £5,400.
It's crazy.
But they're just so hard to get. You know, they've created so much demand for the entry-level model.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, it's madness. Right then, so what have we got here? We've got actually all three sizes. We've got 31, 36, and 41, and these are in some of the very hottest colours.
Yeah, so as straight away we can see that we've got the yellow on the 36, the red in the 41, and the yellow on the 41.
Yeah.
All three discontinued.
Right.
So discontinued colours again, not in production, and then we've obviously got the Celebration and the Tiffany.
Okay, so first thing that I'm spotting here is why is the 36 yellow more than the 36 red?
The reason that's there is because when we were doing a bit of research for this video, we cannot find pretty much any 36mm in the yellow dial.
Yeah.
Which carries a massive premium because there's literally none in the market to buy.
That's the thing, it's just a supply and demand thing. I think when these were in production, less people would have been asking for the 36mm versions, more people for the 41.
Yeah.
And there just seems to be less of these in the market. So it might be that next month there's more reds in the market than there is yellows.
Exactly,
and the prices could move around a bit. So we have the new Celebration dial. This was a novelty for 2023.
Yeah.
We can see all three sizes here. And I mean, the 41 coming in at nearly £20,000. What is the story with the Celebration dial? Like, why do you think it sits in the S tier?
I think it sits in the S tier straight away because it's so out there. It's something that, again, Rolex originally obviously brought out the dials, which was already crazy. And then they've added a specific dial on top of the Tiffany dial, which was always going to be crazy.
It's called the celebration dial. I'm not sure what they were celebrating. Were they celebrating all of the colours which you couldn't buy?
I think so, yeah. I think it was a bit of a wind-up, to be honest.
Who knows? I mean, I think it's probably one of the most out there dials that Rolex have produced. I mean, it's certainly in the modern catalogue.
Yeah,
you know, unless you get in some of the like off-catalogue dials, you know, like the Eye of the Tiger and all of that lot, which, you know, really wild design. But do you think more people will be buying this to wear, or do you think they'll be buying it to put away?
I think with the Celebration Tiffany, I think a lot of people will be putting them away. I can see them in the long run probably being discontinued. I can't see them being a general release for many years to come.
Yeah.
And I think there's more people putting them away than actually wearing them.
Right, yeah. I can see why. I think if this wasn't a Rolex, would it receive the attention that it is? It's almost like, because it comes from Rolex and it seems like such an un-Rolex move, it's very popular.
More in demand.
But at the same time, I think it also shows that Rolex are very aware of the current times that we live in, you know, and they know how to get a reaction out of their audience, which, I mean, I think it's great. So if you compare the Celebration dial to the regular turquoise dial, which one do you think is going to perform the most over time?
Yeah, so I think short term, I think that the Tiffany is probably going to sit where it is, the original turquoise. I think the Celebration dial is actually going to take a little bit of a dip when we see more of them being produced. Obviously, it's still quite a new release, so there's not that many in the market. But then I think long term, it's actually going to outperform the turquoise. Yeah,
well, we'll see. I think what it'll come down to is if this is an even shorter run than the turquoise, then yes, I think just by nature there's going to be less of them about there, and the price will reflect that. Okay, so now we've got everything on the board. Which watch do you sell the most of?
So out of the full board, I would go again with the 41mm turquoise. It's the watch that we get asked about the most if we're looking at any OP. As of recent times though, the green in the 41.
Well, I think the green just provides good value. I mean, it's the Rolex green. It's a little bit different if you don't want a quote-unquote standard dial, even though these normal dials are beautiful in their own right. Yeah, I can see why that is maybe a bit of a sleeper one, and I think when this does discontinue, I don't think there'll be a jump straight away, but I think in years to come...
more people will jump on it in years to come. 100%.
Yeah, I think people will look back and be like, actually, that was pretty cool.
Very underrated.
And then the other way around, people who call up Watchtrader wanting to sell an OP, what is the most common OP that they try and sell?
Yes, so we spoke to John, so the most common OP will be these three, or these four even. So it'll be the 41mm in the silver, black, blue, or the green. I think this is purely because profit-wise, you're probably looking at the best profit if you are going to get one from an AD.
And then in terms of the ranking right now, moving forward into 2024, do you think we're going to see much of a change in where these watches currently sit?
I think the main change we'll see is a 41mm green, or 36mm will probably increase into the B category.
Yeah.
Other than that, I can't really see a massive change. I think the market will sit pretty much where it's at, and maybe the Celebration creeping down to the A tier. I think with the coral red and the yellows, the market's just nearly extinct for them, truthfully. There is literally none out there. Yeah. I think everyone that got one before they discontinued has either got it on their wrist or they've got it put away because they're hiding at the minute.
Okay, brilliant, Josh. Thanks for that. I appreciate the insights. Again, I'm going to let you get back to selling. I know you're a busy man, but if you do want to buy a watch from Watchtrader, get in touch. Josh will always look after you.
Always.
As we can see, there's a huge spread in the market price, even though the difference in RRP from the smallest size to the largest size is less than £1,000. This is pretty exceptional, considering the only variable is the colour of the dial. So, what do you think? Do you agree with where the market places these dials, or do you predict any changes as we move into 2024? If you enjoyed this video, please drop us a like and consider subscribing. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.